You're welcome. With that, gentleman from Indiana is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate this second bite of the apple, and in the vein of bipartisanship, I would just note that I'm happy to be on the act that the ranking member spoke of. It certainly has the support of many of us. If I could just dive a bit deeper into some of your testimony earlier, Mr. McGuire. You spoke about the foundational chips, and so much of our time has been focused on the PRC specifically, but closing these export control gaps is not just to be focused on China, but Chinese foundational chips are enabling both Russian, for example, and Iranian militaries, China's mass scale microelectronics sales to the Russian defense industry has allowed President Putin to not only stay in the game in the Ukraine, but in material ways continue to prosecute that war far longer than many thought they would be able to back in 22. Chinese chips were found in the Iranian Shahed drones. Mr. McGuire, what does all this mean about the threats posed by the foundational or legacy semiconductors? And what should the U.S. do or be doing about China's ambition with these chips?
Yeah, thank you for raising this. I think that there's really two threats from the legacy chip questions. One is what you outlined, that these chips do still have military capabilities. We talk about advanced chips as having the kind of the ones that are most critical to national security, but many of the chips that are found in our many of our military systems, and then many of the ones that we're seeing abroad are actually these legacy foundational chips. So that's number one. Number two is the risk that actually China not only wants to have this capacity, but they actually want to dominate this capacity globally, which poses those strategic risks and also supply chain risks that are really significant. And this is because it takes a long time to build a fab. We can actually see this happening in slow motion, but everyone knows it's happening. Everyone knows that 60% of the legacy fabs that were built out in the entire world over the last 2 years were built in China. China's legacy chip capacity, I think, is going from with 34% in 2023, and 2027 it's going to go to 47%. Ours is at 4%. So they're trying to move. They're trying to not only kind of use this capacity to further their national security, but also dominate the market. And then once they do that, they will follow the same playbook that they have over and over. They will undercut U.S. firms, push other U.S. and allied firms out of the market, and then get that market share up to the 80–90%, at which point everyone is reliant on them. That is an unacceptable risk. I think there's a bipartisan agreement on that, and there hasn't been agreement on what to do about it. We could do all sorts of other things about how to prevent Chinese legacy chips from coming into the U.S. market, but if we want to constrain the growth, because we think that it is unacceptable for China to have such a large legacy chip industry, the only way to do that is with controls on semiconductor manufacturing equipment.
I appreciate that. Mr. Chairman, we just can't afford a system where China moves faster than we can to enforce. And so, Mr. Wolf, I hope BIS is successful in becoming one of the sexier places to work in government, especially if we may need 100 or hundreds more export control officers with that fairly exotic subject matter expertise that's needed in this space. So with
the U.S. is alone in having export enforcement in its export control agency, and I think that's a critical advantage that we have over others, given that they work with the subject matter experts and are be able to target that and not be distracted by other enforcement priorities. So thank you for helping BIS in any way you can.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back.